Hi, I'm Corinne Lesh with FedScoop, and I'm here with Jacob Parcell, Manager of Mobile Programs for GSA. Hi, Jacob.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, thanks for being here. So why don't we start with talking a little bit about how is your agency working to make accessing content and services on mobile easier?
So my agency, we're really working through my MobileGov community of practice to make agency content and services more accessible to the public. And the way we're doing that is we're collaborating across agencies to come up with solutions and services that actually provide better mobile experiences to the public. Mobile is really about people and really about connecting people with content and services that they need in a very easy format. So in my role at GSA, what I do is I connect agencies to share practices around that. So an example of that would be through a listserv that we have where people are sharing information and trends about how people are using mobile. A lot of times I like to take people who are innovating and trying new things around mobile and have them talk to the larger community. An example of that is we had somebody from the National Telehealth Center who does a lot of mental health applications for veterans talk about how he uses this concept called pirate metrics to measure success of his apps. And that's something that we can share across government, and so people can start to reframe how they think about mobile and how they're measuring their success. And finally, when there are gaps and things that agencies need, that's where we provide service. So two of the services that we provide, just to give you a couple examples, are the U.S. Digital Registry, where agencies can go and authenticate their native apps and their mobile websites as this is true government information. It's not something that's coming from a different source, which is an issue. They can do that for native apps, mobile websites, and social media platforms. And then my favorite program that we use is the Federal Crowdsourced Mobile Testing Program. So the issue here was agencies have only 2 or 3 devices to test a new mobile website on, and we know there are hundreds of devices and hundreds of operating systems. So we asked ourselves, how as a community can we band together and help people test new products that they're releasing? So what we did is we came up with a process where if I have a new mobile website that I want some people to test at, I release the mobile website and then they bring it to the crowdsourced testing program. We use the Open Opportunities program, which is a sort of a crowdsourcing model of like getting help across the government, and we ask people for testers, and then they provide their devices from the comfort of their own office, and we test the website. So we generally average about 30 new devices per mobile website, and even the folks who've tested on multiple devices say our testers find new things. Then we take that information and we find our lessons learned, and we share that on DigitalGov through articles and webinars and things like that. So that's how we do it.
Great. And what is the biggest barrier in terms of mobile adoption in the federal government?
I would have to say strategy, because I think what I just talked about was very much building specific mobile websites and native apps for specific users, and I think that's important, but one of the barriers that we have is how do we prepare for the future? How do we prepare for how people are going to be using more devices? So there are hundreds of styles of smartphones and hundreds of screen sizes, but as you get into wearables and things like that, how do agencies start to sort of adapt to that? Do they build specific products for those? I think what agencies are struggling with is how do you sort of build those mobile moments that are very specific to your mission. So DHS is always going to be providing like immigration services, so they need to be very specific to providing those services. But if you're somebody like Census, where you have a lot of data and you have very specific use cases that you can develop to, you can build a platform for open data, and having APIs and data that's available for developers to use and for your networks to use to develop new services that you just won't have the resource to do. So I think it's the strategy around how do we develop for public-facing audiences, which is going to get more and more complex and more cross-prohibitive in some ways as we move forward. So I think the strategy is still a big barrier, even though once you get down to your strategy, you come into the security and the privacy and the other challenges we like to talk about.
Great. And what would you say is the biggest barrier to innovation in the federal government?
So this will be a little bit different, because you could say different types of technologies are a barrier, but I would say leadership is a barrier. Good leadership is something we can always use more of. So leadership, and the way I define leadership is the change agents. I think David Bray from FCC talks a lot about this, but it's the idea that you are committed to doing things in an innovative way. You're always innovating. You're always kind of looking for a new way to do new tasks. And you're working with people to explain your story, to tell good narratives around where the future is going, what's the art of the possible? I think in the federal government we get a little tied up on the technology, and we really need to think more about the people and how it affects them. Once you go in and start to think about how the technology is going to affect the systems in your agency and get buy-in from other folks around the agency, it's still hard, but it becomes easier because you have people who are helping you be innovative across the government, and you also share the wealth of the new ideas and the new approaches to things.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your insight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm Corinne Lesh with FedScoop. Thanks for watching.